All right, so I am coming to you guys live today for feline behavior and enrichment training. This is just going to be a basic overview of some of the things that we're doing at the shelter to help keep everybody happy and content while they're with us during their stay. I am attempting to go on Instagram with a um, showing my computer screen for Facebook Live. So hopefully everyone on Instagram can see this okay. Um, I'm not as good with technology as I once was, so if you're watching on Instagram, this might be filming sideways. I'm not 100% sure. If so, hopefully you can turn your phone without it being crazy. But anyways, we'll go ahead and get started. Once this is finished, I will download the video and add it onto our volunteer resources page on the primary HSMBA YouTube. That way you guys can watch it at a later time, or it's always available to you. So, here we go. So I'm just going to kind of start out a little bit with some fun cat facts. So these are kind of irrelevant to today's training, but they're really cool to know because all of this information and understanding a little bit more about cats is going to help us come up with ideas for enrichment that we can use within the shelter. So some of these things are cats can sleep an average of 12 to 16 hours per day, and that's the equivalent of 70% of their life. So 70% of their life they're just sleeping. Um, if you're on Instagram, you'll see this real quick. I actually have one asleep on my desk right now, and he's been there for at least 3 hours now. So he's obviously in his morning routine, or 70% of his day routine. But that's a lot of time for cats to be asleep, and I would imagine that that plays a little bit of a role in why some of the cats, in our care, we don't really have to worry too much about them, going kennel crazy like the dogs, things like that. If they're spending the majority of their day asleep, that's pretty easy to keep them comfy. So that's a plus for us. Another thing is cats are solitary predators and hunters by nature, so this is great information. Obviously, we're not necessarily worried about our cats, especially our adoption-ready cats, hunting us or, causing any kind of issues as far as that goes, but this is a great way to determine what we're going to give for them as far as toys and things to play with. Another fun fact about cats is they are believed to be the very first domestic pet. They primarily meow to communicate with humans, and they do recognize the sound of your voice. So especially if you're one of our volunteers that spends a lot of time in the cat room, there's a good chance that if those cats are in there, for several weeks or a month or two, and you're frequently visiting those cats in there, they probably recognize you as soon as you come into the cat room and they hear you talking. So that's kind of a cool fact. Another thing about cats, they are, and I don't know if I'm going to say this right, but they are crepuscular, which means they are mainly active during twilight hours, so dusk and dawn, kind of those, not dark, not super bright out during the day, those in between hours, that is when they are the most active. They can spend up to a third of their waking hours grooming, so that's pretty much a cat's life right there: sleeping, waking up, eating, getting a drink, grooming, and then of course maybe a slight moment of activity. Another fun fact, the final one I'm going to share with you guys, is that a cat's nose is just as distinctive as a human's fingerprint. So every single cat nose has its own unique print, which is kind of interesting, but again, irrelevant. I just wanted to put those on there just to get us started. So going into kind of behavior for felines to start with, talking a little bit about their body language. these are going to be some insights, kind of a visual for you guys to kind of refer to when you're not quite sure what this cat is trying to communicate to you. So the particular image that I'm using here is from Fear Free. They are an organization that does tons of webinars and CE things for anybody involved in animal welfare, and a lot of vet clinics, things like that. So they really kind of teach you about how to best approach pets, how to keep them comfortable when you're caring for them, things like that. So this is one of their visuals here. So the main thing you can really look at to determine if the cat is comfortable or if maybe it's a little nervous around you is by looking at the tail. The tail is going to be one of the number one ways to see how this cat is feeling. So when that tail is completely relaxed or wrapped around them loosely, if it's up but they're kind of gently waving it, they're calm, they're relaxed, they're content with whatever's going on at that time. Now, if their tail is more curled up, um, if you look at the visual here of the severe and moderate signs, you can see how it's kind of curled up into a U shape almost. That their tail being poofy and hair sticking out everywhere, that's going to be more distressed. If you've ever seen a cat kind of get defensive towards maybe a dog approaching it, or something scares it, you'll see their tail puffs up and it gets huge. Also, the eyes, you can tell on the eyes again, are their eyes soft and squinty, kind of like when dogs are calm and content, or are they big, wide open? Um, their ears, are their ears relaxed and neutral? Are they tilted back? If they're tilted back, that's going to mean they're a little bit more stressed out. Obviously, if the claws come out or any hissing or growling, those are some pretty good indications that maybe it's not very comfortable, and we'll go ahead and let them calm down and relax in their kennel before we try to manage them. So some of the signs that you can look for with cats when you're spending time with them, a little bit of a way to know if they're content with you is by approaching you, wanting to spend time with you. I'm going to change my view on Instagram real quick just so you guys can kind of see better if I can get it out of the cat's way here. Move the cat. Okay. Hopefully on Instagram you guys can see this a little bit better now. So spending time with you, those soft eyes, they're kind of blinking slowly at you, making biscuits, or kneading on you, your leg, your stomach, whatever, and then rubbing their face or their body on you. Those are pretty common with our super friendly cats, especially ones that are more calm and they just like to lounge around and hang out with their human. So these are really good indicators that not only are they calm and relaxed with you, but they're calm and relaxed in general. They're not particularly stressed out at this time within the shelter. So these are good indications that they're happy. Now, some natural feline behaviors, we have the eating and drinking, obviously. We know that they groom a lot, they sleep a lot, cats are always scratching on something. And then we know that they're hunters by nature. So these are some of the things we can kind of look at to determine how we are going to offer enrichment to them. So for eating and drinking, feel free to treat the cats anytime you want. If you actually look on the directions for the cat treats, it'll kind of tell you that you can give them, I want to say it's like 8 to 10 treats. So you can actually give them quite a few treats before it's really too much. So giving them 1 or 2 per visitor, perfectly okay. And a lot of these guys are young anyways, so it's not like they are 10-year-old house cats that were altered and gained an extra 5-10 pounds. So these guys are fine with treats. We do have kitty Kongs that were prepped during the kitten shower. Those are going to be located in cat condos. There's a big tub full of them. Kitty Kongs are going to be plastic Easter eggs with cat treats inside of them. Basically, they are playing around with these plastic Easter eggs. Um, Once they start smashing them into the wall or it falls off their shelf or something like that in their kennels, that plastic Easter egg is going to pop open and then they get their treats. So not only are they getting to enjoy a nice little surprise when it pops open, but they're also getting the fun of chasing it around, being the predator, and that kitty Kong is essentially their prey. So that's a really good way to engage with them. Also, putting a ping pong ball in their water bowl. And I don't know if we have too many of these left. Sometimes when we're cleaning a kennel or something, it'll fall out and it'll break, or the cat will break it, or they'll try and chew on it and dent them up and things like that. But if we have ping pong balls, and we should have some, you can always pop one of those into the water bowl, and then they can kind of swat around at that in the water as well. For grooming, obviously they take care of most of this process themselves. We strongly advise that unless we tell you otherwise, never put the cats in the tub for a bath. We have had to do it in the past, depending on a medical situation or something like that, but as far as grooming them, they're gonna clean themselves. We don't have to worry about that unless it's maybe one of our cats in ISO or a smaller kitten that's a little bit more messier. If that's the case, if they're kind of messy, especially those kittens with their wet cat food all over their face, you can always grab some wet wipes, just simply wipe them down. But across the board, brushing any of the cats is great. They love it. It's a great way to bond with them, relax them, so highly encouraged. If you don't know where the cat brushes are, we do have a lot of them in the grooming room next to the laundry room. There is a brown cabinet in there with all the grooming supplies, and you will find probably 20 or more cat brushes in there that you can use for them. For sleeping, they do spend a significant time sleeping in their kennels. So one thing we can do for them, we can give them a little blanket. We had a volunteer make several little crocheted afghans for the cat kennels, as well as some small quilts. Those are great for the kennels. They're the perfect size for the kennels. They can relax on them. But also the cardboard trays that the canned cat food comes on. Those are awesome. We try to save them. They're back on the shelves on the enrichment shelves right outside of the small dog room. We should have plenty on there. We try to continue to save those. Those make amazing cat beds. Cats love boxes so much, and they fit perfectly in their kennels for them to lay in. So you can always put one of those in there for them as well. Now for scratching, at one point we did have some probably 5 to 6 inch tall plastic cones, orange cones, that we had wrapped some rope around, and they made really cute little scratching posts that fit in their kennels perfectly. However, one issue with that was they were very difficult to clean and sanitize, so we have had to kind of get away from those. I don't think there's any left in the facility at this point, but one thing we do have is carpet strips. People will donate rugs or carpet chunks that were left over from, remodeling or whatever, and we have them cut down into strips. We can put a clip on it, and they fit perfectly hanging on the inside of their kennel door. They can scratch on those all day long. If they ruin them, that's fine. We have plenty more behind that, but we can also throw those in the wash, which helps us disinfect them. So we can reuse them multiple times before they completely start wearing out. And then as far as hunting, we have, You can always put, if we get some small Amazon boxes, or if you guys, decide to bring some in that you might have at home, you can put small cardboard boxes in there. They like to get in there, pop out at people when they walk by, things like that. I don't know what the appeal is with cardboard boxes and cats, but it's it's definitely a win every time. We can also create bell bottles, which are recycled prescription bottles without the labels on them. We can put a little bell in there, put that in their kennel. They can knock it around. It's got sound, which is enticing to them, and they can have fun with those. Again, we can sanitize those and reuse them. Catnip toilet paper rolls are simply toilet paper rolls with catnip inside. The ends are folded up. We usually put the catnip inside parchment paper and roll it up and stick it in the paper towel or toilet paper roll. And that way they can shred them if they want to, so that kind of goes along with the scratching as well. Um, Again, knock them around the kennel, do whatever they want. If they ingest any of the toilet paper roll or paper towel roll, it's cardboard, it is organic matter, they will pass it and it won't present any medical issues. But we rarely see that happening. Usually they just shred it with their claws. And then the glove box toys are going to be our leftover boxes from our plastic gloves. We go through tons of plastic gloves, specifically in our ISO areas and our stray cat areas. We do change out gloves after every single cat. So with that, we have a lot of boxes left over from empty plastic gloves. All we have to do with those is throw one of those cat balls in there, the one with the little bell inside, or anything similar to that. They fit right into the hole on the top of the box, and they can stick their hand in there and smack that ball around. So it really goes along with the hunting. It's, kind of like they're getting a mouse out of a little mouse hole or something. So they really enjoy those too. Any of this stuff is going to be primarily recycled materials, so it's not going to cost us anything except for a little bit of time prepping the enrichment. When you guys come into the shelter, if you want something to do, you can always help with enrichment. We have a bunch of recycled materials that always need prepped for both dogs and cats. So you guys can always let me or any other staff member know if you want to help with those things, and we can show you, what you guys can make and how to do it. So another big part of enrichment is creating things that are kind of helping them engage their senses. So with sight, getting them out of their kennel, whether it's allowing them to roam in cat condos or taking them out and putting them in the get to know you room, especially if they're in the hallway there, that can go a long way in kind of switching up the change of scenery, allowing them to have better views or different views throughout the day. With their sense of smell, we should have catnip usually in the feed room where all the snacks and treats are. That can be dried catnip sprinkled in their kennel or in their bedding, or it can be sprayed catnip. I personally like the spray, so we can spray it on carpet strips or spray it on their bedding if they need a little extra stimulation. You can also hide any those treats that you're going to be passing around to the cats. You can hide them within their kennel. Put them under their blanket or something. Let them kind of sniff around throughout their kennel. They know it's there, and now they have to find it. So that kind of prolongs the time it takes. It gives them a little extra something to do, and it's a nice little surprise if they find it, after the shelter's closed for the day or after, someone has visited them a while ago. So sound, you can play music on your phone while you're in there. A lot of times we'll have music playing in the kennels, but sometimes we won't have music available in the cat rooms. So you guys can always put on music on your phones while you're in there. And then, of course, just talking softly to them, engaging with them while you're in there. And then for touch, we can offer them soft blankets, various types of toys, different kinds of textures, things like that, so that they're really getting not not so much of a sterile environment. They're getting a little bit more variety in their day, like they would if they were in a home setting. So the reason we're doing enrichment for our cats is because it's going to provide mental stimulation and prevent boredom. And it's really important for shelter pets who are living in a sterile environment for whatever length of time. We don't know from one pet to another how long they're going to be there. So, some of the benefits of enrichment: it improves their brain development and function, which is wonderful, especially since the majority of our animals or our cats are going to be kittens. It enhances learning and memory, improves their interaction with the environment, reduces their fear response, and reduces their stress levels. It promotes an overall increased sense of well-being, reduces boredom, reduces anxiety, and reduces the abnormal behavior of anything induced by stress, whether it's compulsive behaviors, over grooming, things like that. And it's been proven to lower risk of disease and death. So the happier these guys are, the less stressed they'll be, and the more stressed out a pet is during their shelter stay, the more likely they are to come down with an upper respiratory infection or some other illness that might be kind of looming in the shelter. So another important thing with the cats, I don't always get too many personality reports on the cats. Cats are pretty consistent in their personalities for the most part, and it kind of just goes back to their natural behaviors and the way that they kind of exist. So they do have different personalities, though. So if you're not a cat person, and you're not familiar with cats, they might seem like a one-size-fits-all, but these guys really are all going to be super independent, super unique to their own. So you guys can always fill out the personality reports for them as well. They do have very unique personalities. They're all going to be a little bit different. And even though only half of the health report or the personality report is applicable to cats, the bottom half of those reports is for dogs only, and it's talking about leash walking and things like that, training. Even though it's a smaller portion, it's still good information to know. So if we have a cat that is a little bit more, I don't want to say fractious, but a little bit more claws out personality, maybe we don't want to send it with young children. Maybe young children would be better off with a cat that is very content with being handled by young hands, whereas our older cats may be much better off in a home with an older individual, especially seniors that just want a companion pet. These are great pets for them. They just want to lay around, have their 70% or more sleeping hours, and just be loved on when they are awake. So having a little bit of information on personalities and things like that are going to be good indicators on what type of home it should go into. Also with cats, we do see more illness within cats than dogs, and that's primarily upper respiratory infection, kind of like we've talked about during orientations. Number one cause is usually stress. So again, we might not see kennel crazy behaviors in cats as far as, pacing or, any kind of weird reactive, abnormal behaviors. But one thing we will kind of see with these guys once they start getting more stressed out is upper respiratory infections. So they start getting sniffly, their eyes start getting watery, things like that. So if you guys notice any of the health issues, anything, sneezing, coughing, if you're seeing some hair loss on them, that could be from over grooming, which is mostly from stress reasons. All of those things are good to note, on these personality and health reports. We always want to know about anything health related, especially just so we can stay on top of that, take care of it immediately. But all of this information is important for us to get these guys out as quickly as possible. And like I've kind of said to you guys before, you know, a lot of these animals are being seen online and being read about online before they ever actually get seen in person. So the more information we can provide in their files for people to see online, the faster they will get out into a home. Now, first off, I just want to say the cat photographed here is not aggressive by any means. It was just being playful, and yes, it did get adopted. But what if a cat is too aggressive? What if they're a little bitey, or they try to scratch or swat at you anytime you try to touch it? Well, luckily for cats, it is not a big deal. We do have the TNR program at our facility that is trap, neuter, and return. So most of the time, cats that are a little bit more feisty will be brought in traps. They will go through this program where they are spayed and neutered for free, ear-tipped, and released back to the area that they were trapped in. Now, if they're not allowed to come back to that area for whatever reason, then we can adopt them out for free as working cats for any businesses, ranchers, anybody who wants pest control without the concern of them multiplying at a rapid rate. They can get involved in our working cat program. Sometimes we will have cats come in that maybe seemed okay upon arrival, but then after a couple of days or something, they've kind of started to display behaviors that make us think they would be better off as a working cat as opposed to one in a home with a family. You just never know. It's a really stressful time whenever a cat is brought in through animal control or someone that isn't its owner. It's super stressful. You don't always see the actual personality of the pet because of the high stress levels. So sometimes we have to kind of make changes as they're in our care. On the other side, though, we may have cats coming in, and we see this every once in a while, somewhat regularly. They come in a trap, and then after a day or two, all of a sudden, they're rubbing up on the door of the trap, they're meowing, you know, they want pet. They were stressed out. So we can't ever really determine what is the best pathway out for a cat just based on those first couple days, just because there's just too much stress with them coming in. But with that, you know, they always have the TNR program, the working cat program, as a pathway out of the shelter if they're not the nicest. So if you guys have any questions after this training, you can always reach out to me. You guys will have my email. I have sent out the weekly update email already today, so you can always just reply to that if you guys have any questions about anything today during this training. But otherwise, thank you everyone for coming on today, and hopefully I will see you Saturday when I am at the shelter. Otherwise, you guys have a great week, and I will see you soon.